I've been thinking lately about critics. You know, critics of, like, basically people who are paid to break down what is and isn't good about a piece of art. Whether it's films or TV or books or video games, there's this really intense, oppressive vibe of almost arrogant objectivity with which many critics approach the things that they're reviewing. And because, look, my real beef is I think there's a real difference between discussing the merits of something, you know, like an open discussion, and this closed-off, capsule-like ferocity with which the hardline review format, you know, numerical scores, thumbs up, thumbs down, tries to boil down hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of hours of labor down to a number or a thumb. It's really jarring to see a film like, say, Interstellar, a film about which I could comfortably pen an essay on all the reasons I loved it, and I sort of did in my review. That's right, I'm a critic. This is going to get pretty complicated. And in spite of some minor flaws, I thought the film kind of totally just blew my third eye open. And then what I do is I wander onto the internet with a big grin on my face, and I see critics and friends who conduct their opinion-based forays into the public discourse with the, you know, attitude of critics. I see those people shitting on the thing I loved with a kind of laconic, knowing I told you so tone to their voice, which is kind of my whole problem. Because unless you step back from your critic voice every once in a while and actually reevaluate what it is you do, either as a professional critic or an amateur one, which thanks to the internet we sort of all now are, you stop enjoying anything. Here's a metaphor for how the mind of a critic works, okay? Imagine giving, let's say, the DeLorean from Back to the Future, oh, that'd be amazing, to just like the average schmo, yeah? Now, they're going to scream with joy, presumably, or they'll drive around in it, or they'll cry a bit because you just got them the best gift ever, or they'll just use it as a practical vehicle, but they're going to react genuinely positively, thank you for giving me this wonderful thing, I love you, yeah? Now imagine giving that car to a critic. Odds are they'll open the hood, they'll criticize the design, they'll point out that the manufacturer went bankrupt for a reason, and maybe privately they'll smile to themselves. And then they'll tell you why you shouldn't enjoy that car the way you actually did. And they'll probably, I don't know, kick a puppy or something. That's most critics. Now, I'm not saying critically discussing the merits of art and media is a bad thing, because holy shit, it absolutely isn't. But it should be just that. You know, a discussion, not a meal boiled down to its constituent parts and served in pill form for practicality's sake. Cinema and TV, for example, is media that you can't talk back to. And, I mean, it's a one-way street. You know, it's a sluice you can't scramble back through. You're served an audiovisual meal, and then it's up to you to digest that meal. This is what I think criticism should be. An aperitif to help you digest better what you've just taken in. Not a way to turn to one fellow diner in a big, fancy diner hat and ask him or her how you should let your organs process and mulch what you've just jammed into your gullet. By the way, I'm aware that was a strangled metaphor. In that metaphor, film and TV is food, in case you missed that. Now, when I lay into Doctor Who, I am often guilty of staring down the barrel and saying, this is the objective truth, but the fact is, it's just my opinion. And that's all a critic's voice is. You need to remember that. It's just the opinion of one person. And here's the truth about critics. A critic is, if you're a fan, someone whose voice and taste you align with, and so when you like something, you know, when they like something you like, they explain to you why you liked it so much in words that you really couldn't kind of muster up, which thereby kind of backs up your assumptions about the thing you liked, which makes you feel very good about yourself, yeah? Or they disagree, in which case you can ignore them, or you can be convinced to broaden your own taste by someone whose taste you respect. But there is a breed of critic who, A, find it hard not to find flaws, which I would argue isn't actually their job. I don't think the job of a critic is to find what's wrong with something. I mean, why do you need to seek and destroy? And that same breed of critic, B, after a while, if they don't occasionally step back and actually look at what they're doing as a job, they won't admit this out loud, but they fall into what I call God voice. And again, they won't admit this out loud, and they probably don't even realize they're doing it. But they start to assume that because they're a critic, or someone who conducts themselves like a critic, that their opinion is more important or more right than yours. Which is bullshit. Look, a critic is just one person. you know? You've got to remember that. So next time a critic shits on your enjoyment of something, be it a film or a book or Stephen Moffat, wouldn't that suck? Remember, it's just one person's opinion. And hopefully, they don't legitimately think that they know better than you. And if you're a critic of video games, and you are reviewing games, and rather than discussing the storytelling or the broader implications of the choices of the characters in the game, or the metaphors used by game designers to sum up big issues, and instead are spending your entire review complaining about the graphics or bitching about minor game bugs, what you're doing makes about as much sense to me as reviewing a book and spending half your review bitching about the font. Anyway, I hope some of that made sense, and I hope I haven't been too negative in the past. I'm endeavouring to be more positive. Not just for the sake of being positive, but because I think art is there to be enjoyed. And there's so much to enjoy about it. So let's not wander into these assessments with our frowny faces on. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with more Doctor Who stuff later.